This is the round ahead. Thanks to Coles, Nat Edwards, Josh Gabelich and Chad Wingard with you. We're here at Adelaide Oval for Gather Round. How good is this, guys?
Best round of the year, Nat. We're here very early this week. I can't wait. So many good games.
And the weather, they've really turned it on. We brought the Melbourne weather with us.
Yes, we've got the one day that it's not sunshines and rainbows, but it's beautiful to be back in this venue. It's one of the best venues in the competition.
We absolutely love Gather Round, but not everyone does.
Any plans for the week in Adelaide?
No, I don't like Adelaide, so I'll probably be in my room playing Call of Duty with the boys.
Jack Higgins, come on. I mean, we've been riding him all week. He's been getting stick. He's been door-stopped.
Door-stopped.
But Adelaide's not that bad, is it, Chad? You're a South Australian.
Oh, well, when you get a taste of Victoria, though, it's hard to come back, I guess. And that's what he's saying. He's saying he probably hasn't seen the best of it. He comes here for the whole week and probably doesn't get to see the beaches, doesn't get to see the wineries. But yeah, I think there's much better things to do than playing COD in your hotel room.
He's here for 9 days. He had a whole extended period because St Kilda got the back-to-back games. It's going to be a big watch on him this week.
But there's plenty of iconic things to do here at Adelaide Oval, of course. And Chad, I'll have a little welcome home gift for you as well. I've got some of these fruit chocks. Fruit chocks, you pass them over.
Yep, fruit chocks.
Okay.
Nice.
And of course, the Farmers Union iced coffee.
Iconic.
Iconic.
Adelaide.
Nice.
I wanted to get you the green frog cake or a Balfour's pie or a pie floater, but those weren't available.
Nice.
But what about, Josh, if you wander down Rundle Mall, the mall's balls, they're there.
There's a lot going on. I was there this morning. My God, there's plenty going on. There's a lot of colour, more colour than I've seen in the past 2 years, so it's all happening. And
the mechanical ball at the wool shed, what's your best time?
Oh, at least 10 seconds. I was probably best on a Saturday night. I've spent way too much time there.
Enough nostalgia for now. It's going to be a massive week here in Adelaide as we take a look at what is to come for Gather Round. 2 big games at the Adelaide Oval to kick things off. Then the winless Blues and Eagles face off. Who will register their first victory of 2025? The Dogs and the Lions at Norwood Oval. Looking very much forward to that. On Sunday, we're back in the Barossa for the Tigers-Freo clash. And all of that is a teaser for what is expected to be a spicy affair on Sunday night between the Power and Hawthorn. Will Jack Ginnivan be up to his old tricks? We cannot wait for that. There is so much to unpack. Let's get straight into it. It's where we always start. It's Thursday night footy, thanks to Coles. And what a game to kick things off. It is Adelaide and Geelong here at the Adelaide Oval. I cannot wait for this one. Adelaide, Chad, have been a powerhouse when it comes to scoring this season, despite their loss to the Suns last week. And it's this three-headed monster we're talking about. Are they the best attack in the competition right now?
Well, between those three, they kicked 12 goals between them last week against Gold Coast. And you think, obviously, the height that they've got. Not many teams can have 3 tall forwards that are impacting the way they are. And you think about the guys that are around them, you've got the Rochellis and you've got the Isaac Rankins. The players around them, really great supporting cast. So just the potency up there, they're really hard to match up on.
They are. Josh, do you agree? Is this the best attack going around right now, or is there anyone that can rival them?
No, I think this is the leading attack in the comp right now. You can tell that on the scoreboard. They're leading the comp by more than 100 points across the first month of the season. Riley Thilthorpe leading the Coleman medal on 14, leading the competition for score and goal assists as well. So he's having a big impact everywhere. But Darcy Fogarty, I think, is going under the radar a little bit. He's up to 12 goals as well and doesn't miss. 12-2 to start the year. And
a tattoo that he's been paid to. Would you get paid to put a tattoo on your body?
I tell you what, they're expensive. So I would love to have got paid for my tattoos.
I'm sure. But seriously, on a note with Adelaide, is there a particular weakness when you look across the ground that you think this is where Geelong can really exploit them?
Yeah, well, I just want to speak about not their weakness, but their inexperience, I suppose. So they've got Josh Worrell, they've got James Borlase and Mark Keane. They've played 85 games between them as their tall defenders. And you think about the potency of Jeremy Cameron, and you just think that it's probably a week for him to really step up and kick a bag. I mean, last time he played him, he kicked 6 goals, and he's one of those players that are really hard to tie down at the best of players in the competition. But for Adelaide Crows, it's probably something that I'm not sure they're worried about, but they just know that that's not their strength. They've got such a potent forward line, their midfield's really firing. But last week, you had Jed Walter and Ben King. They had 9 shots on goal with their tall forwards. So it's something to, I suppose, have a concern about for teams to really plan that this is a real, I suppose, area that we can really focus on trying to attack Adelaide Crows.
Now, Geelong's defence is going to have a big challenge curtailing this three-headed monster. And Josh, in 2025, we have seen the emergence of a star in the making. I'm talking about Connor O'Sullivan. He's been super impressive, a contender for the Rising Star Award as well. He was drafted at pick 11 in 2023 and has just a handful of games under his belt. What's impressed you most about him? And look, there's a lot of pressure on him given he was given the number 14 Joel Selwood's Guernsey.
On draft night, Nat, and I just love the build today. He played just the one game last year. Geelong do this so well. They're very patient with their players. They build them up through the VFL. And when you consider we've focused so much about the most recent draft class when it comes to the Rising Star. We discussed this a month ago. We didn't mention Connor O'Sullivan, but every now and then a second or a third-year player like Ollie Dempsey last year actually wins the Ron Evans medal. And I think right now, after round 4, Connor O'Sullivan is the clubhouse leader when it comes to the Rising Star. He's played just 5 games total in his career. He's so composed for someone at 19. And when you consider no Jack Henry, no Jake Kolodjasny. Tomorrow night, he's going to get a big role on one of the 3 names we just mentioned in terms of the 3-headed dragon.
And elite runner too. I remember speaking to him in his draft year and he just talked about going for long, long runs and his mum just wanted him to get out of the house, so he'd just go running, which is absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to see how he goes against the Crows. But to the hook now, and all eyes will be on Adelaide Oval and Sydney and Collingwood on Friday night. And well, Joel Amati, Josh, he's not a household name and has been much maligned by Swans fans over the last few years, but he is a player that intrigues me. He has found some form this season. He has.
He's had a great little patch, and they need him because no Logan McDonald to start the year. They trialled Tom McCartan in attack to start the year. And you go back to his last appearance at this ground last year.
Oh, yes.
He should have kicked 10. He kicked 9. John Longmire took him off the ground. It was controversial at the time, of course. So he comes back to Adelaide full of confidence and in good form.
What would you do, Chad, if you'd kicked 9 goals and the coach made you sit on the bench for the last minute or so of the game? You'd be dirty, wouldn't you?
I guess we'll never know. I never got the opportunity, but yes, he was an absolute star. And I just want to speak about some of the things that he's really improved on.
Yeah.
You spoke to him post-game last Saturday night.
Yeah, so I watched their game against North Melbourne and he was really potent. One thing that I really loved about him, he had this real massive tackle and it got him into the game. He actually got a goal from it. But where he's improving, he's averaged 3.3 shots this year and he's converting at a 69% conversion rate of goal. Both are career highs. And I spoke to him after the game. I said, mate, you're looking really comfortable in your set shot routine. Is there anything that you've changed? And he mentioned that he said, you know what, actually something that I was really focusing on in the off-season, I wanted to slow down my approach. And it said that it makes him feel really comfortable. He had 2 shots from 45 metres out and he just leaned back and just hit it. It looked so comfortable. And I said, mate, you're doing a great job and hopefully he can just keep this confidence up and obviously it's going to help him if he's converting at that kind of rate.
Yeah, actually watching that vision there, you can see him really focused and slowing it down in his mind and in the steps that he's taking. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get some more consistency, of course, throughout 2025. But he might need to give some technique tips, Chad, to his teammate in Peter Laddams because, well, this wasn't Peter's finest moment and you know him well. Just talk me through this.
Yeah, it only took me 5 minutes to slide into the DMs and send this to him. I was at the game and I said, me and my best mate, good mates with Peter Laddams, and he said to me, he's like, that could be possibly been the worst kick of the AFL career, of his AFL career. But he played well. He's a super impressive for him. And I think he could be one of those guys that fill in that role as a second tall to help Amati out as his running mate. So
interesting.
Something to look into.
I like it. Now, I love nothing more than a game of Who Would You Rather? PG rated, of course. So in this context, we're doing Who Would You Rather when it comes to the ruck battle on Friday night. Is it Darcy Cameron or is it Brodie Grundy? Josh, who would you rather?
Well, now, you know I'm all in on Darcy Cameron.
What a
I think he is the man that couldn't go past Max Gawn and become an All-Australian this year. Last year, of course, he came runner-up in the Copeland Trophy. He was named in the All-Australian 40. He wasn't in the final 23, but his starts of this year has been even better than last year. He's in really, really strong form. He's having more impact around the ground and at stoppage at ground level. So we're seeing his continuation of his form. And don't forget, he's coming up against his old side on Friday night at the Adelaide Oval. And we can't forget how good a value this trade was for Collingwood because they gave up pick 56, they got Darcy Cameron, and they also got pick 62. So they just slid back 6 spots to get Darcy Cameron. He's been a star.
Chad, who would you rather?
I'm going to go for Brodie Grundy. He just took down Giri for North Melbourne, and he's probably the most informed ruckman, and he obviously took down Max Gawn the week before. So Brodie Grundy, for me, his impact, I suppose, when the ball hits the ground, he doesn't have the aerial presence as probably a Darcy Cameron, but I suppose I spoke to him after the game. He actually nullified Jiri by changing his, centre bounce setup. He came closer to the line, and that's something to be mindful of. That he's actually putting a lot of work into it, and he's got Dean Cox as your head coach. So I think for him, he's going to be very prepared for this match, and to take down Jiri, I think it's a massive scalp for him.
He's strategic, isn't he, Brodie Grundy? Now, the news wasn't good for the Pies coming out of this week in terms of injuries, but we do have to remember too, and we will remind Collingwood fans, that the Swans have also, Josh, been hit pretty hard with injuries. They're both missing big names, which is a shame, because otherwise this game, and I still think it's going to be close, but it'd be nice to have all the stars play.
Well, 3 forced changes, Nat, for Collingwood when you consider we already knew no Dan Houston due to that 2-game suspension. Then Jordan De Goey with an Achilles issue out of that game. Maybe that's why he was subbed out of the game in the third quarter. And then the big shame is Lachie Schultz. Cannot believe that he's going to miss 2 or 3 weeks with a hamstring that he suffered on Sunday. But as you touched on, Sydney's been dealing without Errol Goulden to start the year, without Callum Mills, and without Logan McDonald. It's been an absolute killer blow for them. And then factor in Tom Papley, who's going to miss the next 2 months.
Well, it was only going to be a matter of time before the Barossa Valley got its own gather-round action. The food and wine region, which is so famous in South Australia, is hosting 2 games this weekend. Both of them sellouts. The first one is North Melbourne and Gold Coast. And there's 7 clubs over gather-round who are debuting special gather-round Guernseys. And Josh, I'm tickled pink by the Gold Coast one.
Well, you are talking about Gold Coast's brand new pink jumper. Have a look at that. Touk Miller modelling it there. This is part of the rebrand project at the Gold Coast Suns, and it's been led by their president, Bob East. They've made a real conscious decision here to get more involved with lifestyle. We've seen Damien Hardwick wearing New Balance sneakers pre-game. Last year, they did a collaboration with a small Gold Coast brand called Alfred's Apartment, the first of its kind in the AFL, something that happens all the time in Europe, and it's already having a big success rate at the Gold Coast Suns. They've sold out of this pink jumper 3 times already, and before you ask, Chad, the players were consulted on this jumper because it's a big decision to wear pink, but Matt Rao was involved in it, Ben King, Touk Miller, Noah Anderson, they all backed it in the end. So if things go well this weekend, I think we might see it again, because right now it's planned to just be a one-off, but I think we might see the pink more often.
Bring it in. I want it. I want a long sleeve version. I want to see Chad in a long sleeve pink Gold Coast Suns Guernsey. It just got us thinking though, that pink Guernsey, because I absolutely love it. Like, what are your favourite Guernseys of all time? Chad, what's your favourite?
I'm going to go through for my favourite as the best looking one I've seen.
Okay.
It's definitely the GWS charcoal. Like, how good is that? That's
it's
probably
striking.
It just looks amazing. I think in the back as well. Business kind of attire for me.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Oh, suit up. Josh, your favourite?
Well, I love history. I love Heritage Round when they used to have that, and I love Port Adelaide. I love that jumper. I love the prison bar jumper. I know some don't, especially the Collingwood variety of people don't like it, but I like it. And I actually love a lot of Port Adelaide's jumpers. They've got a wide array of Guernseys across the year.
They do. They really do. For me, I went back to 1995, and I love the Fremantle Dockers OG original. 1995. This is when they debuted in the season with the green down the bottom. I mean, purple is my favourite colour, but that Guernsey to me is absolutely stunning, and I reckon they should wear it all the time. Now, Norwood Oval on Sunday is the place to be if you want to see the Brisbane Lions and the Bulldogs go head to head. And there's only one reason that we're interested in this match, and that is the matchup between the man that everyone is talking about in Sam Darcy and, well, the Lion who needs to try and stop him in Harris Andrews. Josh, Sam Darcy, incredible. What makes him such a powerful force in that Bulldogs lineup?
Well, I don't just think it's his aerial threat. When you look at him, he's unstoppable given his height, 208 centimetres, and his reach at its highest point when he's leaping. He's just unstoppable. But he's so good below his feet, and we saw that against Fremantle on Sunday out west. He's just so clever and so clean, even by hand, Chad. So I just think he is such a difficult matchup. I think the best matchup for him is the guy at the opposite end at the Western Bulldogs in Rory Lobb. So he plays on him in match him, but he's never going to play on him in a game because that guy plays in the same team.
So how do you stop him, Chad? If you're Harris Andrews, I mean, it's obviously not going to come down to one person, but how do you stop a player like Sam Darcy?
Well, I think a few things are going to help him. He needs a lot of help from his, teammates, but playing at Norwood Oval, it's a different ground. It's a bit skinnier, so you can really get across and help your teammates. So I feel if you're Brisbane, you're going to make sure that you're 1.5 man defender, which means that you get your guy done, but you can half help the next guy. So Harris Andrews is going to have to, body him up and then hope that his teammate can come across and spoil. That's the only way you can beat these aerial threats. But I think, like a lot of teams, you're going to let him go up the ground a little bit and just make sure he doesn't impact it at the goals.
Intriguing contest, and what a better place like Norwood Oval. Absolutely stunning venue for this to play. Now, back by popular demand is Josh's player portraits, of course, and we decided we're going to put him to work on the round ahead this week. He's been a very busy man. Let's check it out.
Debut games are always a time to stop and reflect on the journey, whether you're a first-round pick straight out of school or a 23-year-old who this time last year was selling used cars with 100,000 kilometres on the odometer. Saad El-Hawli's debut for Essendon in round 3 was even more meaningful than most, given it arrived in the final days of Ramadan. The devout Muslim spent the day of his debut fasting at home and didn't break fast until seconds before the first siren at Marvel Stadium when he sat on the interchange bench. In the space of 30 minutes, Saad El-Hawli showed that he has a future at the Bombers, but for a long time, it didn't look like he had a future in the AFL. Short stints at Williamstown and Werribee led nowhere. He starred for Altone's local club in the Western Region Football League, but it wasn't until he moved to a wing at the Northern Bulldogs last year that recruiters finally started taking notice ahead of the mid-season rookie draft. Footy is only part of the story when it comes to Saad El-Hawli. He's proud of his culture and comfortable sharing his story, which he did on one memorable occasion at the Northern Bulldogs last year, which left a lasting impression on that VFL standalone club, and something he's done many times since arriving at his boyhood club, Essendon. For a long time, it was his cousin Basher Hawli breaking barriers in Australian sport. Then it was Adam Saad. Now Saad El-Hawli is inspiring the next generation of Australian Muslim athletes, after reminding us in round 3 that players come in all different shapes and sizes and from all different backgrounds and cultures.
Now, Josh, that was brilliant by you, but I'm just looking, and there's magic in TV. Behind you, you little walk and talk. It is sunny. When did you record this? Did you record this yesterday and you're wearing exactly the same clothes?
Yeah, of course. So I went back to the hotel straight afterwards and did change clothes.
Are you sure?
I did.
How does he smell over there, Chatty? All right.
He's outside.
Thank goodness we're outside. That was awesome. I really love Saad El-Hawli's story and what he's bringing to the game and the role model that he's going to be for so many others moving forward. But his Bombers take on Melbourne, and they've been the talk of the town. Once again, they are winless. The heat is on them. And I just wanted to show you guys this stat. It shows their decline, if you don't mind, in terms of their premiership players and their core stars from their premiership year in 2021 to 2025. Look, it is 4 years ago, but you can see the drop off there, Chad. Are we being too harsh with it, or are they just past their prime?
I think we're being too harsh. I think you can't compare someone from their prime 4 years ago, but also we've only had 4 games. So we can't, I suppose, throw them to the wolves just yet. I think at the upside for Melbourne is that if our stars aren't performing to the extent that we think they can, you say, well, if they start playing a little bit better, that eventually it's going to turn to the whole, I suppose, the whole team's going to benefit from it. But the question is, when is that going to happen, and how many games are they going to take for them to get to their best? And I suppose, can they get back up there?
It's a good point. I mean, 4 games ago, Jack Viney entered the year as the best and fairest winner.
Yep.
Max Gorn was the All-Australian ruckman in 2024. So they're off at the moment, clearly, and they're a key reason why they've had such a slow start. But these are champions of that club that can get going again.
Well, we can't talk about Gather Round without touching on what has been touted as the main event. It is the Wingard Cup. It is Hawthorn and Port Adelaide. Chad hates me saying that. Maybe it should be the Stuart Dew Cup or the Jarman Impey Cup.
Or the Carl Amon.
Sean
it could be, yes. And as we roll the tape, I think we all remembered what happened last time these two sides met. It came down to the wire, and Josh James Sicily had a shot with not long to go in this game. Hawks are down, and they end up losing by 3 points in this cutthroat semi-final, but James Sicily here hitting the post, and he's absolutely devastated there, as was I sitting on my couch at home. But it was Port Adelaide coach Ken Hinkley who, after the siren, made headlines, Josh.
This was the story. Clearly, coming out of that semi-final, James Sicily addressed it with reporters outside Adelaide Airport the following morning. I remember I came over here to cover that game, and I covered that press conference at the time. Ken Hinkley was hit with a $20,000 fine. But we all expected this game to be the game of Gather Round, and they've absolutely milked it, haven't they, the AFL? It's going to be a perfect way to end the third edition of Gather Round.
So these scenes obviously off the back of a tweet that Jack Ginnivan had done a fortnight ago to Brodie Grundy. He had just written on his Instagram post or commented saying, "See you in a fortnight," meaning the Hawks were going to get over Port Adelaide and see them in a preliminary final. That didn't go to plan for Jack Ginnivan, and Ken Hinkley there just having some words, did the little mock aeroplane, which I loved all the drama
Great
and
theatre
that this brings our game, Chad. Now, going to Sunday night, do you reckon Jack Ginnivan, and you know him well, is he going to have a little aeroplane celebration or something up his sleeve just to spice this up?
Well, I think we'll all be disappointed if he doesn't have something. But like I said, I think this is a real benefit of our game at the moment, that the players are showing, I suppose, their emotions and coaches, and it's the pinnacle of the season. You really want to play the finals, and I can't wait for how this game turns out. I'm really looking forward to it.
So if we look at the midfield battle of these two groups, and I want to start with Port Adelaide because that is not really going to change this week at all, but they've got some elite players in this midfield, Chad. None of them have all been firing at the same time, and they need to if they're going to start turning their season around.
Yeah, and you think about the star power of Port Adelaide, they've got 5 All-Australian nods between Rosie, Wines and Butter. Wines has won a Brownlow, and obviously Butters has won back-to-back best and fairest, and he's top 4 in the Brownlow the last 2 years. So they've got absolute firepower, and if you compare that to, obviously, Hawthorn, you've got John Newcombe, who was in the squad of 40 last year and top 10 in the Brownlow. Will Day, we know, is at that level. He just hasn't played for a full season.
So you mentioned Will Day, Josh. Massive news that you broke yesterday that Will Day is going to miss 3 to 4 months. He's had surgery. Just give us a little bit more detail, and then I guess it's like, who replaces him? Who comes in?
I still can't believe this, Nat. We were here yesterday when I came across this story, and to think that Will Day is now going to be out for at least 3 months, potentially 4 months, with another injury to his foot, another stress fracture to his foot. This time it's the navicular bone, which he went and had surgery last night. So successful surgery last night at the Epworth Hospital in Melbourne. But it's a severe blow for him, given he had exploded across the first month of this year. He was a Brownlow medal contender. He looked like he'd been All-Australian for the first time, given how well he was going. So I just can't get my head around it, because there is so much shock at Hawthorn and inside the Will Day camp. When he went and had that scan, and it was a regulation scan on Monday night, he wasn't expecting this news. But by the time he got back to his car, they asked him to come back to the clinic because they'd found the issue in his foot. So a disaster for him and a disaster for Hawthorn in a way, because of how irreplaceable he is with the way he impacts that club.
Yeah, especially being able to move forward. So, Chad, what is it? Is it giving someone like a Henry Hustwaite, who has been absolutely killing it in the VFL, a crack, or James Worpel, who potentially is coming back from injury?
Yeah, well, James Worpel's coming is a test this week, and I would love for Hustwaite to get a crack, especially if it's going to be 3 or 4 months until you see Will Day again, because Hustwaite has been dominating in the VFL. He's one of those guys, if you can compare him to someone in the AFL, he's almost moves around like the Bont and the Scott Pendleburys of the world. He's a bit taller, so he adds another element there. James Worpel, you know what you're going to get. He's a hard-nosed kind of player, gets the clearances, but I would really love to see Hawthorn have a crack with Hustwaite. But you also got Cam McKenzie, who came off a career best game against GWS, had 30 disposals team high, and 5 inside 50s team high again, and he was best on ground for him. So they've got some guys in depth, which is, I suppose, Port Adelaide don't have, and they've got the star power, so it's almost like star power versus the depth of Hawthorn, and you've got Dylan Moore that can go through there, Josh Ward, some players that can really, I mean, Sam Mitchell's spoiled for choice at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly is. So while selection might be up in the air, one thing is for sure, it's going to be a spicy affair here on Sunday night at Adelaide Oval, and that is all we have time for on the round ahead. Thanks to Coles. It's been fabulous being here in Adelaide for Gather Round. Enjoy all of the footy, and we'll see you next week.